Let's study the life of Guru Padmasambhava. I just received this oral transmission today. Today I can recite the transmission to you as well. The life of Guru Padmasambhava, composed by the venerable and respected master Taranatha, Om Swasti, meaning may there be auspiciousness. Homage to the Guru, an ocean of eloquent speech, the uninterrupted teachings of the victors, sometimes assumes the form of an Acharya spiritual teacher. The manifestations of Guru Rinpoche are inconceivable. Sometimes he appears as an Acharya who fills every direction with the light of the sacred Dharma. He turns the wheel of Dharma, spreading teachings throughout the 10 directions, displaying countless mandalas while never wavering. There should be a comma here. The Vajra mind of luminous clarity remains unmoved. At times, he transforms into the Lord of the secret mandala. Yet his mind of wisdom and radiant clarity indeed remains truly unshakable at all times, unwavering and steadfast. Before such a Guru Rinpoche, the author Taranatha offers homage with respect. Relying on the authentic words I have obtained, I have written this biography free from fabrication. The author is a distinguished scholar. He is not just of course, he is also a truly great and highly accomplished master. But at the same time, he is a highly rigorous scholar. Especially when it comes to history, he bases his accounts on evidence. He is truly an extraordinary wise person. Therefore, he relies on genuine, authentic knowledge. He does not rely on hearsay or patch things together from various sources. He does not do that. His writing is truly and entirely based on authentic words and knowledge. This is how he composes his works. He has eliminated his own fabrications, his own conjectures and inventions. He doesn't use those. He relies on real knowledge. And on this basis, he wrote the biography of Guru Padmasambhava. During the period when the teachings of the Buddha, the perfectly enlightened teacher, were truly at their peak and flourishing, prospering, the ancient kingdom of Magadha was considered the preeminent nation among all others at that time. It was ruled by King Devapala during that period. This was during the time when the Dharma of Shakyamuni Buddha was extremely prosperous, flourishing, and thriving. Kingdom of Magadha, also known as Magadha, was a country. I've sent you all the Tibetan text today. You can take a look at it from time to time. If you notice any mistakes, feel free to point them out. Also, if there are parts in the Chinese that you can't understand, I hope you will refer to the Tibetan version. I sincerely encourage everyone to carefully study it this time. Now, regarding the kingdom of Magadha, among the many countries in India at that time, it was extremely developed. Back then in Magadha, notable kings like Ashoka and King Bimbisara all ruled there, you know, right? Who was there at that time? The king present during that period was Devapala. Devapala was a ruler who came from the Pala dynasty, which was known for its influence in the region. He was recognized as an important figure in the history of the dynasty. That was around the 8th century, I think. Because in Taranatha's History of Indian Buddhism, he talks quite a lot about the notable Pala dynasty, as well as the Maurya dynasty, and many other historical periods. There was a king during that time, and in the region known as Ausadha, which is also referred to as Uddiyana, there was a wise and respected ruler named Hayalala. He carefully governed the country according to the established law. As for Hayalala, he was actually the king where Guru Padmasambhava was born. It is likely that he was not his father, which is an important distinction to make, because as for Uddiyana, in just a moment I would like to talk to everyone about it in a bit more detail, so please stay with me as we explore its background and significance together. There was a truly great and wise ruler in the ancient land of Uddiyana, whose name was Hayalala, and at that particular time there was also a member of the royal family present. So according to historical records, Guru Rinpoche's father was a member of the royal family by birth and lineage in that ancient kingdom. He might not have been considered, just like in China, a feudal lord or a prince of that sort in the traditional sense there. He was a member of the royal family. He was a learned scholar and a sincere and dedicated devotee of the three jewels. In the language of Uddiyana, this man's name was Shrado in ancient times there. My younger brother is called Shrado. In Indian, it is called Shragdara. The meaning is one who holds a garland of flowers, which refers to someone who is honored. He had a son with all the auspicious marks, which are special signs believed to bring good fortune and are highly valued. And this was Guru Padmasambhava. His complexion was fair with a rosy glow. At the time of his birth, there was a lotus pattern on his ring finger, and his eyes and lips were as if a beautiful, delicate lotus had blossomed in full bloom. On his body, there were iron hook-shaped and lasso-shaped lotus marks, among many other wondrous and extraordinary signs. Because he is Padmasambhava, this is another way to interpret the meaning of lotus here. So, for Padmasambhava, there is actually another popular explanation as well nowadays. Therefore, he was, in fact, one who was born from a womb, born as a human being in this world. He was actually the son of such a king from that royal lineage, perhaps the son of a minor king, something like that, according to records. I think I'll read the next part as well. Here, what was mentioned earlier was Uddiyana. Uddiyana is quite a remarkable and special place. I'd like to explain it a bit today as well. I hope you'll definitely look into it more in the future too. First, with regard to Uddiyana, it is now known as the Swat Valley, according to current geography. This is located within the borders of Pakistan, near the Afghan border region. As for this place, it is a very important location. All scholars and some historians are in agreement that Padmasambhava was from this particular place. They believe he was born from a womb. This is in fact the general consensus among experts. As for those who believe in miraculous birth, they also refer to this valley. It's possible that it used to be a lake in the past, and there's a well-known saying that he was actually born in this very lake in ancient times. So as for this particular place, it primarily refers to this specific area in Pakistan, which is called Uddiyana. But nowadays, it has been completely and absolutely taken over by Islam. However, before this, in the well-known historical text called the Great Tang Records on the Western Regions by the famous monk Xuanzang, he actually visited this place. When he went there, it is clearly stated in the records of the Western Regions that at that time there were more than 1,400 monasteries. Galan means temple. He said that at that particular place there were more than 1,400 temples, which is a remarkable number. Over time, this total also came to include the temples located in our Tibetan area, Ugyempa, Tseto. Ugyempa had been to this place before, at least once. However, he did not mention it in his own biography. This was not particularly obvious mentioned in it. Then, later on, the person named Datsang Lotsawa Awangjiangtso, translator Datsang. As for translator Datsang, he specifically wrote about the entire scene when he went to Uddiyana at that particular time, because among all of them, before Gendun Chofhel from our Tibetan region had been to India, the first was Lotsawa. It appears that Lotsawa at that particular time had stayed at Nalanda Monastery for a certain period of time. He wasn't particularly accepting of the Nyingma teachings. He said that the Tantras were not in India, for example, and so on. But later, when translator Ugyempa actually went there, he began to refute this claim. He said the person was ignorant, having only seen one monastery, so he couldn't represent India. Then, when he actually went there himself in the libraries of Nepal, there were so many tantras, even just the names alone. In Journey to the West, His Holiness said this. That's what it means earlier on. This is about Ugyempa. But Ugyempa's biography is almost like that of a great accomplished master. Sometimes when he spoke, it seemed like he was describing things in an overly elaborate way, which made it feel a bit unreliable. Then, later on, Datsang Lotsawa, he was entirely scholarly in his approach. Gendun Chopal also fully acknowledged this, that he had been to the land of Ugyen. There is even a special travelogue called Journey to Ugyen. If you have the chance, you should check it out in Tibetan if possible. It's quite interesting. At that time, he said that the palace of King Uddiyana also existed there. Its name was Gondola. You know how in our great monastic assembly halls, His Holiness also used that name, Gondola. Back then, there were two large assembly halls. One was Gondola, and the other was the Heruka Hall. This is also notably mentioned in his historical account. Originally, he went to the lake in Ugyen, specifically Lake Senda, the place where Guru Rinpoche was born. But the person who was supposed to guide him, originally it would have taken a day to get there, but that guide refused to take him. So in the end, he couldn't go. It seems that the journey Datsang Lotsawa took was truly an ascetic one, extremely arduous. The road was incredibly difficult. His companions even died along the way, and heavy snow blocked the path. It was really almost like the records of the Western regions. These great masters are truly moving and inspiring. But Uddiyana at that time was a bit different from how it is now. Back then, as for Uddiyana, he said that this place, especially when you consider the food, was essentially a site where male and female Vidyadharas performed feast offerings together. Then he encountered some people there. There was an old woman. It said she was 1,000 years old. One day, when he couldn't find anything to eat, he went down to the village, feeling very hungry. A woman noticed his situation and kindly offered him a little food, sharing what she had with him, but the food was cold. Then he accidentally threw it away. After he threw it away, the woman became very upset. Suddenly, fierce fire started literally coming out of her mouth. It was quite shocking. There were miraculous manifestations and so on. So these are things we might want to take a look at. This place, Uddiyana, is truly remarkable. Now I'd like to take a moment to show everyone this place for all of you. That place is called the region known as the Swat Valley. There are a few beautiful photos of the Swat Valley. Let me talk a bit about this place in some detail right now. In the middle here is the whole area of Pakistan, as you can see clearly displayed. And as for this specific area of Pakistan, to the northwest, it shares a long and rugged border with Afghanistan. To the east, there's Kashmir, a region known for its beautiful valleys and scenic mountains. And to the south, there's Xinjiang, an area famous for its vast deserts and diverse cultures. Now that's China's Xinjiang. And further down there's India. So actually this is what the area of Pakistan looks like. This is where Padmasambhava was in Uddiyana at the time. Now there's a clear green circle around it on the map. Swat is right here, roughly in the middle of this geographical region. It's not very far away at all from the capital city. That's the kind of place it is. You can basically see all of this clearly on the geographical map above that we are showing. Xinjiang over here to the east is Tibet and below is Afghanistan. Above is Kashmir, these few places in the region. This is where Padmasambhava was at the time, mainly in this particular area. This is what is surrounding it. And now, as for the historic Swat Valley, maybe this special place, some people say that according to ancient legends and local traditions, there used to be a very large lake near here in the distant past. In this specific area, there are still many well-preserved and historically significant ancient monastery sites scattered throughout the region. There are especially many historical sites. Of course, nowadays, perhaps the things that Datsang Lotsawa saw basically no longer exist. This beautiful and historic place is called the Swat Valley in local language. Swat Valley is the name of this whole extended geographical area that we see here. And then there's also another important and distinct part behind it. Nowadays, people call this beautiful place the Little Switzerland. In Datsang Lotsawa's travel notes, it's also mentioned that this place is especially beautiful. Even now, many people from around the world think that the scenery here is still quite beautiful. And now, there are still some ancient and sacred Buddha statues here preserved through the centuries. On that large and prominent red line above on the map, there are some Buddha statues carved into the rocks. This is the famous Bamiyan Buddha in Afghanistan. Some parts were tragically destroyed last time by terrorists when they bombed it with explosives. But there are still many precious things left. Tulku Tenzin, it seems he actually went there just once last year sometime. I didn't ask him about it, but I did hear that he is working on writing a modern version of The Travels of Uddiyana, or at least that is what I suppose. When his book eventually comes out, I am really looking forward to reading it. It might contain more detailed information. So, if this place is indeed perhaps the land of Uddiyana, there really shouldn't be much debate about it, including Xuanzang and Faxian from earlier, who were both prominent Buddhist monks and travelers. As for Xuanzang and Faxian, right next to it is Chakdara, which is a site of historical interest located nearby. This place, Chakdara, was a place that both Xuanzang and Faxian visited back then during their journeys to India. So here, what we mainly want to do today in our discussion is the Chakdara I just mentioned. The Chakdara that's a bit further up this place was mentioned quite a lot and quite frequently by both great masters Xuanzang and Faxian. So maybe in the future, if there's a chance, we could take a look at places such as these. It should be related to Guru Rinpoche, although there are no longer any traces of Buddhism like there were back then. In those ancient days, it should have been a devout Buddhist country with many monasteries, and when the great translator Datsang Lotsawa went there, he said that at that time the local people were under threat from the Mongols and also from people coming from the Xinjiang region. They were frequently intimidated, harassed, and so on. The whole experience is described quite clearly. It might not be exactly the same as it is now, but since Datsang Lotsawa's time isn't that far from now, in reality it's not that long ago. So sometimes when we look at Guru Padmasambhava, if we can clearly identify the sacred place where he was born and his parents, if all these can be pointed out, then to ordinary people, we can consider him as being born from a womb. Of course, as for the various things we usually talk about, such as those in the Padmakatang and what is mentioned in the last testament of Guru Rinpoche, he has his own esoteric meaning. As for this, I can share more with everyone at another time in the future. All right, let's stop here for today. Thank you for your attention.
Om